Hello, welcome to Proverb a Day. This is the 25th proverb for the 25th of the month, Proverbs 25. We'll start with verse 1. These are the Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied. There's a note on that verse. You see, we're reading the Life Application Study Bible, and we're sharing the notes for Life Application. So anyway, the notes on verse 25. Verse 1, chapter 25. Hezekiah's story is told in 2 Kings 18 through 20, 2 Chronicles 29 through 32, and Isaiah chapter 36 through 39. He was one of the few kings of Judah who honored the Lord. By contrast, his father Ahaz actually nailed the temple doors shut. Hezekiah restored the temple, destroyed idol worship centers, and earned respect of surrounding nations, many of whom brought gifts to God because of him. It is not surprising that Hezekiah had these proverbs copied and read, for in every work that he began in the service of the house of God, in the law and in the commandment to seek his God, he did it with all his heart, so he prospered. You can read about that in 2 Chronicles 31:21. Right, verse 2. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. As the heavens for height and the earth for depth, so the heart of kings is unsearchable. Take away the dross from silver, and it will go to the silversmith for jewelry. Take away the wicked from before the king, and his throne will be established in righteousness. Verse 6. Do not exalt yourself in the presence of the king, and do not stand in the place of the great. For it is better that he say to you, Come up here, than that you should be put lower in the presence of the prince, whom your eyes have seen. The note on verse 6 and 7. Jesus made this proverb into a parable. See Luke chapter 14, verses 7 through 11. We should not seek honor for ourselves. It is better to quietly and faithfully accomplish the work God has given us to do. As others notice the quality of our lives, they will draw attention to us. Verse 8. Do not go hastily to court, for what will you do in the end when your neighbor has put you to shame? Debate your case with your neighbor, lest he who hears it expose your shame and your reputation be ruined. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. Like an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold is a wise rebuker to an obedient ear. 13. Like the cold of snow and in time of harvest is a faithful messenger to those who send him, for he refreshes the soul of his masters. There's a note on verse 13. It is often difficult to find people you can really trust. A faithful employee, messenger, is a punctual, responsible, honest, and hardworking. This person is invaluable as he or she helps take some of the pressure off his or her employer. Find out what your employer needs from you to make his or her job easier, and do it. Verse 14. Whoever falsely boasts of giving is like clouds and wind without rain. The note on that verse. Most churches, missions, organizations, and Christian groups depend on the gifts of people to keep their ministries going. But many who promise to give fail to follow through. The Bible is very clear about the effect this has on those involved in the ministry. If you make a pledge, keep your promise. 15. By long forbearance a ruler is persuaded, and a gentle tongue breaks a bone. Have you found honey? Eat only as much as you need, lest you be filled with it and vomit. Seldom set foot in your neighbor's house, lest he become wary of you and hate you. 18. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a club, a sword, and a sharp arrow. The note on verse 18. Lying, false witness, is vicious. Its effects can be as permanent as those of a stab wound. The next time you are tempted to pass on a bit of gossip, imagine yourself stabbing the victim of your remarks with a sword. This image may shock you into silence. Verse 19. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a bad tooth and a foot out of joint, like one who takes away a garment in cold weather, and like vinegar on soda is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For so you will heap coals of fire on his head, and the Lord will reward you. That's verse 21 and 22. The notes of that I'll read like this. God's form of retaliation is most effective and yet difficult to do. Paul quotes this proverb in Romans 12, verse 19 to 21. In Matthew 5:44, Jesus encourages us to pray for those who hurt us. By returning good for evil, we are acknowledging God as the balancer of all accounts and trusting Him to be the judge. That's important, the balancer of all accounts. Trust Him. Verse 23, the north wind brings forth rain, and a backbiting tongue and angry countenance. It is better to dwell in a corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. As cold water to a weary soul, so is good news from a far country. A righteous man who falters before the wicked is like a murky spring and a polluted well. The notes on that verse, 26. To falter before the wicked means setting aside your standards of right and wrong. No one is helped by someone who compromises with the wicked. Verse 27. It is not good to eat much honey, so to seek one's own glory is not glory. The note on verse 27. Dwelling on the honors you deserve can only be harmful. It can make you bitter, discouraged, or angry, and it will bring you the rewards that you think should be yours. And it will not bring you the rewards that you think should be yours. Pining for what you should have received may make you miss the satisfaction of knowing you did your best. That's the most important thing. Do your best. Right? Anyway, verse 28. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. The note on that verse. Even though city walls restricted inhabitants' movements, people were happy to have them. Without walls, they would have been vulnerable to attack by any passing group of marauders. Self-control limits us, to be sure, but it is necessary. An out-of-control life is open to all sorts of enemy attack. Think of self-control as a wall for defense and protection. Wise wisdom. That was Proverbs 28. Proverbs 25. I'm sorry. For the 25th of the month. Thank you and have a blessed day.